My name is Nanette Banks. I'm the Family Consumer Sciences Agent here at the Letcher County Extension Office, and today we are doing a program on Cook Wild Kentucky, and we're going to be talking about rabbits.
Michael, get off the
Here,
phone.
here in just a second, we are going to introduce everybody. Shad, wave at everybody. This is Shad Baker. He's the Ag Agent here at the Letcher County Extension Office. And Jeremy Williams, if you'll wave. This is Jeremy Williams, and he is the Harlan County Ag Agent, and he's going to be the one that's going to talk to us about how to hunt rabbit and what to do with it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint. And as you can see, this is the Family Consumer Sciences, is what I do. And like I told you, my name is Nanette Banks, the Letcher County FCS agent. And this is my contact information. If you want to reach me by email, it's nsbank2@uky.edu. And then the numbers, the office numbers, 606-633-2362, or you can call my cell phone at 606-438-3090. And like I said, we're doing Cook Wild Kentucky. And what is Cook Wild Kentucky? It is a partnership between the University of Kentucky Extension, the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, Feeding Kentucky, Hunters for the Hungry, and Kentucky Department of Agriculture. And current recipes that we have right now with the Cook Wild Kentucky, we have recipes on venison, fish, frog legs, duck, and rabbit. And today we are going to talk about rabbit. But the future is to expand it to elk, turkey, turtle, squirrel, raccoon, and beaver. And you do have to have Kentucky sources for us. We have to have Kentucky sources for USDA approved meats. So if you don't hunt and you want to try these meats, you can buy them at different places. And here are the list of the places. There is the Good Foods Co-op in Lexington. There's Critchfield Meats in Lexington. And Kroger, but you got to realize not all Kroger stores have access to ordering these types of meats, but not all are carried on a regular basis. So if you want to buy from Kroger, or if you live near a Kroger, make sure you call and ask if they have this type of wild meat, and if not, see if they can order it. Myers in Lexington also has USDA approved meats. Walmart Supercenters have ground bison, which you could substitute for venison, and a wide assortment of fish. And then there's a place in Frankfort called J&S Rabbitry, and they raise farm-raised rabbits. And then the Chop Shop in Wolfe County, you can get frog legs from there. And then there's a place close to us called United Grocery Outlet in Hazard that does sell venison, rabbit, and fish, but make sure you always call to find out if they have it before making a trip there in case they don't have it. So how to cook rabbit? Few wild game meats are as delicious and versatile as rabbit. The flesh is delicate, white, and lean with just a hint of gaminess. Rabbit can be cooked in every conceivable way, from frying, baking, or roasting to using it in stews, casseroles, and pies. And today we are going to do a rabbit jambalaya recipe. And then the taste of rabbit is comparable to that of chicken or turkey. And the recipes for the two, you can interchange those. So if you want to use rabbit instead of chicken, you can have a rabbit pot pie instead of a chicken pot pie. So this right here is what the rabbit jambalaya is going to look like. And you can see you can add broccoli with a little bit of cheese and some biscuits, and you can have your full meal. Here is the recipe, and I will mail everybody if you don't mind. If we don't already have your address, put your address in the chat box, and Jennifer will get that, and we will mail you the copies of the recipes. And this is what the recipe cards look like. And we have two for rabbits. One is Santa Fe rabbit soup, and the other one is the rabbit jambalaya. But the recipe we're doing today, the ingredients are one rabbit that's cut up, and it's about 3 pounds. I put this out, I kept it frozen, brought it out, and cut it up. And we had to do some of the prep work this morning because the rabbit had to cook for about 2 hours before we could debone it. which I'll talk about that here in just a second. But there's a teaspoon of paprika, 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 2 to 3 cups of low sodium chicken broth, 1 cup of diced onion, 1 cup of diced bell pepper, 2 stalks of celery diced, 2 cloves of garlic minced, and a half a pound of Polish sausage that's thinly sliced, and 2 cans, which is 14.5-ounce cans each, no salt added diced tomatoes, 1 cup uncooked long grain rice, 2 teaspoons of dried thyme, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and then optional is a 1/4 teaspoon of hot pepper sauce, which I am going to do. So the directions are, you want to cut the rabbit up that's been thawed out, cut it up into pieces, and then take the teaspoon of paprika, and you want to rub the rabbit pieces with that paprika. Then go ahead in the large skillet, heat the 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil in the skillet, and then add your rabbit and brown it on both sides. And then you're going to add 2 cups of chicken broth, bring that chicken broth to a boil. And then once it started boiling, cover the skillet, reduce the heat, and simmer for 2 hours or until the internal temperature of the rabbit reaches 165 degrees. And then you're going to add more chicken broth if needed. Once that has simmered for 2 hours or the rabbit has reached the internal temperature of 165 degrees, remove the rabbit from the skillet, and when it is cool enough to handle, remove the bones from the meat. Rabbit meat is, the bones in the meat are very small, so just make sure that you are really feeling for those bones to make sure you get them all out. And then add remaining chicken broth to the skillet, return rabbit meat to skillet, and stir in the remaining ingredients. After you get all the ingredients in, return it to a boil, and then cover your skillet, reduce heat, and simmer for another 20 minutes. And then you're going to remove it from the heat and allow it to rest covered for 5 minutes. And then you're going to fluff it with a fork and then serve it. And the nutrition facts per serving is 560 calories for 2 cups. 2 cups is a serving size. So it's 560 calories, 17 grams of fat, 4.5 grams of saturated fat, 0 trans fat, 205 milligrams of cholesterol, 690 milligrams of sodium, 36 grams total carbohydrates. So if you are diabetic, look at that. 2 grams of dietary fiber, 7 grams total sugar, 62 grams protein. And then you can see the daily value of vitamin D is none, 8%, for calcium, 60% of iron, and 25% of potassium. So now I'm going to stop this and I'm going to take you over to our camera and I'm going to show you what the rabbit meat looks like. What it looks like. And you can see there's the skillet. I'm going to take the lid off. And remember, the first thing you want to do is always wash your hands before, and I'm going to wash my hands before you start cooking to make sure you get everything off your hands. And when you wash hands, make sure you wash your hands for 20 seconds and scrub in between your fingers on top of your hands. You can sing happy birthday 2 times through to get everything good and clean. And then you want to rinse and use a clean towel, dry your hands, and then turn the water off with the towel. Okay, so here's what the the duck meat looks like. It's white, but it does have a little dark meat with it, but it looks just like turkey or chicken. So we're going to add this back to the skillet. And then we're going to add another cup of chicken broth back in it. And this is the low sodium version of the chicken broth. And then I went ahead and pre-diced 1 cup of onion, and I just put them in these little bowls. So we're going to put that in there. And then 1 cup of diced green pepper. And then this right here was 2 stalks of celery that was diced up. So we're putting that in there. And then it does call for 2 cloves of garlic. And I used garlic that was in a jar instead of dicing it up. And it tells you right on the jar, a half a teaspoon is equal to approximately 1 clove of garlic. So I needed 2 half teaspoons or 1 teaspoon of garlic, which I did. It's already pre-measured out and put it in here. And then it calls for a half a pound of sausage, of the Polish sausage, thinly sliced, which I did. Sometimes you can find Polish sausage in a pound package. I did not. I found it in a 14-ounce package, so I done a little bit more than half of the Polish sausage. And then it calls for 2 cans of no salt added diced tomatoes. And as you can see right here, if I can, ooh, it is no salt added. I don't think you can see it. So just 2 cans of that. Put in. There's one. And here's the second. And what the no salt added does, it just makes it a little healthier version, to where you don't, if you are trying to watch your salt content or things like that, it's making it just a little healthier. So the next thing we need to put in is 1 cup of long grain rice. And as you can see, it's just long grain uncooked rice. And I've already measured it out and it's 1 cup. Put that in there. And then it calls for 2 teaspoons of dry thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And I just put all of that on a plate, pre-measured. And then the last thing was optional, was hot pepper sauce. And I am going to put in 1/4 teaspoon of that, which is not a whole lot. And then we are going to stir this. I'm going to bring this to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, and you can see this is making a big pot. But once this comes to a boil, I will reduce the heat and cover this and let it simmer for 20 minutes. And then by the time Jeremy is done talking, this should be ready to eat and you'll see what the finished product looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this over to Jeremy. And I'm going to pull the PowerPoint back up for you, Jeremy. Just a second. Okay. Do you all see that?
I cannot.
Okay. I didn't think so.
You have to stop sharing and then reshare.
No, it's just me. Share screen. Now, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so right there it is.
All right. Thank you, Nanette. Like Nanette said, I'm Jeremy Williams. I'm Ag and Natural Resources Agent, Harlan County, and you can see my contact information there on the screen if you have any questions. But if you want to, go ahead and turn to the next slide. So here's a little bit about the season dates and the restrictions. What we're looking at is the eastern zone for rabbit. That's where we're at. And so you can see that here we are on January the 25th. So there's not too many days left in the year for hunting rabbit. So very few days left on that. And I will add, there are some bag limits on that. If I'm not mistaken, a bag limit on a rabbit is 4 per day. So what you want to do is you want to check your hunting guide or go to Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife's webpage at fw.ky.gov and check out the rabbit information on that, on the correct bag limits on that. Okay, go ahead. Next slide. All right, I'm going to skip the trapping portions here. So hunting is you're actually practicing. It's the practice of seeking, pursuing, and capturing or killing wild animals. Hunting wildlife or feral animals is most commonly done by humans for meat, recreation, to remove predators that can be dangerous to humans or domestic live animals, to remove pests that destroy crops or kill livestock for trade. So we're pretty much hunting them for meat is what we're looking at today. We're out here, we're hunting rabbits, we're hunting cottontails for meat, and Nanette's got a really good recipe going on there. So let's go ahead to the next slide. Okay, go ahead to the next one. So we're talking about the hunting, the rabbit hunting. Now, cottontails, as it mentions, in Kentucky, there are actually 3 different species of cottontails. We have here in the eastern part of the state, we actually have the eastern cottontail, and we also have one that's called the Appalachian cottontail. And then in western part of the state, we have a swamp cottontail. So usually these cottontails, they're found near areas that have good cover, that are adjacent to their favorite foods. What we typically see around here are things like grasses, clovers, broadleaf weeds, garden crops, bugs, twigs, bark of small saplings. That tends to be what they're after. So if you'll see an area in places that are really good, that does really good jobs of finding rabbits, is you'll find rabbits around reclaimed mining areas in the eastern part of the state. So those places are great. They're usually flats and or areas that you'll be able to hunt those. And so what they usually are is they're in those areas that are a lot of cover. You'll see cover areas like we typically have autumn olive in the area, and other brush areas, maybe edge of wood lines. And so what they'll do is they tend to be found near those areas there with some good cover. They've got to have the cover. And then also, like I mentioned, you got to have those grasses nearby, the clover, broadleaf weeds, that sort of thing. So what you're looking for with cottontails is small fields. They're going to be bordered by woods. Like I mentioned earlier, that brush, the briars. You typically see these on these reclaimed surface mine areas with the autumn olives and so forth. You'll also find them along drainages. They'll be in an area, I know on those, going back to those reclamation areas, you'll find rock drainages, and they love those places. There's a place that they can get out of it, get out of harm's way. Also, they're going to be along fence roads where you see vegetation that have grown up. You'll see areas that's grown up with multiflora rows. They can be in those areas as well. In recently cleaned timber cuts, you've got those brush piles, you've got those treetops there, that sort of thing, and so they'll typically be there. They want those dense covered areas. So places like power lines, railroad right-of-ways, and just anywhere that it can provide a hideout with nearby forages.
I'm sorry about that. Someone called her and I had to get hung up by accident.
Also, other areas that are favorites of them is blackberry patches, places where there might be, especially in the spring, summer, when they can find something to eat like that, blackberries. So you got briars, honeysuckle, thick grass, weeds, even old bales of hay, abandoned machinery. Irrigation pipes and culverts are great places that they hang out. Also underneath buildings. So these are some of the places you're going to look to on how to find rabbits, where you're looking for. Okay, next slide. Okay, some of the things you might want to look at first, though, is we don't have many days left in the season this year. We only have about a week left, including today. So this is a great time of year to start looking at next year. And or next season, I guess you could say. Season opens up in November, so this gives you an opportunity to start looking at some things, what you might need to buy on gear. So typically what I like to carry is I like to carry a 20 gauge shotgun. It's light. I want an improved cylinder choke, and that does the job for. I don't want a tight choke. I just want usually just an open cylinder, an improved cylinder, And I typically use usually 5 or 6 shot in mine. You can use up to 8, but I typically use 5 or 6 shot in my 20 gauge with a improved cylinder. And that works great. A lot of shotgun is possible. I usually don't use a sling, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I usually don't use a sling for that either. So I want to have that rifle in my, or that shotgun rather, in my hands to be able to use it at all times. You know, something when I'm quick, when that bunny busts out of there and starts to run, that way I've got a good clean shot at him. You know, one of the things is wearing thick clothing. It mentions when you've got those briars, you've got just stuff. Usually you're hunting rabbits in the mornings, and so you can have an area that's got a lot of frost on it. And as that sun comes out and that frost starts to melt, it's going to be wet. So I like chaps. I really like to wear chaps. They work great for rabbit hunting, and they're just easy to put on. When I get to the field or the woods, easy to put on, easy to take off when I'm finished. So I like to wear chaps. Gloves are great. Sometimes I wear gloves, sometimes I don't. Depends on, a lot of it depends on how cold it is. May want to wear a glove. A lot of people, they typically wear gloves on their non-shooting hand and their trigger finger. They may not wear gloves. It's just however it's comfortable. Also, it talks about game bags. Now, what I typically have, and I wish I meant to bring it and put it on, that way you all can see what I've got. But I have a blaze orange vest, and in that vest are many pockets. It's part of the gear. I have many pockets on that vest, and it carries everything that I need. It carries my shotgun shells. I carry a first aid kit if I've got a bag of water or a bottle of water or a thermos of coffee. I can stick it in there. And it's blaze orange. That blaze orange is highly visible, and so that's something that you want to wear. But it's got a game bag on it, and it has everything I need. Another thing I will add, and we'll talk a little bit about it in a minute with dogs. If you have dogs, if you're hunting with dogs, carry a first aid kit for your dogs. You never know when you'll have an issue with a dog getting injured. I had that issue before with a dog, and was actually able to take care of it. It was a paw issue, and I was able to take care of it right there in the field. So you never know what you'll run into. I mentioned the blaze orange vest. I can't recommend this enough. If you're hunting out there, whether you're by yourself, with your buddies, hunt with blaze orange. You never know who else is out there. Also, if you're hunting with some hunting partners, make sure everyone knows where each other's at all times. And if you have to, call out every now and then. But if everybody's got a blaze orange vest on, coat, blaze orange cap, wear that. That will save your life in the long run. So that's something I recommend highly. That's one of my #1 go-to gears. If I'm rabbit hunting, as well as it's by law, if you're hunting with a modern firearm for deer, bear, elk, that sort of thing. Use the blaze orange. Okay, next slide. Okay, hunting with beagles. This is fun. A lot of times I have gone into the field with my beagles and had really good races. In other words, we call a race is when the dogs get the rabbits up or gets a rabbit up. And the days that I've had that I've come home without anything have been really good days, because I just enjoy listening to the beagles run and that sort of thing. So, but the main thing is getting some meat on the table. That's why I'm out there hunting, is trying to get that rabbit meat on the table. So hunting with beagles, it's possible to hunt them without dogs, but it can be tough to hunt them well without them. So two things with the beagle and the bunny make it so appealing is that rabbit, they're going to circle. They typically circle. They have a home area, and what they'll do is when you let the dog out and the dog gets on the scent of the rabbit. I like a dog that hot trails. and that he or she will not open their mouth until they don't start barking until they get on a hot trail. And so what they do is they get on the rabbit tends to circle back. And so what happens is that dog is going to flush them from a cover that they're in that we talked about earlier. They smell the rabbit, they flush it from the cover, and usually that rabbit's going to circle back. But what happens is the bunny runs off, and then it'll slow down when the dog catches back up. So they'll circle back around. So what we typically do as hunters, rabbit hunters, you're going to listen for that chase. The sound of the dog. If the dog's a good dog will only bark on a hot trail, and so if that dog is on a hot trail, it will bark. But if it gets on a cold trail, it'll continue to chase or continue to hunt for that rabbit with silence. And so that's definitely a good dog. So what I typically do is I keep a bell on the collar, and so I can listen for that bell. If that dog's moving, I can tell if that dog's coming to me or going away from me by listening to that bell. And so listen to that chase by the banging of the dogs as the dog's chasing the bunny. All right, next slide. Then there's other methods as well. There's the most basic method of hunting is just walking up on rabbits. And you may develop your own style, but those rabbits they're really good about camouflage. As a matter of fact, I was hunting one time with dogs, and the dog didn't pick the scent up, and the dog ran by the rabbit, and as I was behind the dog, I stopped, and when I stopped, the bunny broke out into a run and across the path, and so they can't stand to be waited out. So what happens is when we pause, as the hunters pause, the rabbit gets nervous, and so it breaks out into a run, and so that's a good chance to be able to get a rabbit too. So if you're walking up on rabbits, so some really good information here is go into that location, a location that you know of that has rabbits, or a location that you think that might have rabbits, and go through it very slowly. Walk about 10 steps. You're going to stop for about 30 seconds. And then repeat that option. Repeat what you're doing. And what happens is as soon as you stop, it usually flushes that rabbit out because they get nervous. It's something that as you're walking, they're okay. They're kind of hunkered down. And as soon as you stop, they're going to bust out of that cover. With hunting with a partner, try to stay about 50 feet apart. Move in staggered succession. One hunter moves up about 10 feet and then waits. And then the other hunter moves up about 10 foot and waits, and so on, alternating until the cover is worked. So that's where that blaze orange comes in at. Both of you want to be in that blaze orange if you're hunting with someone. Okay, next slide. All right, something on the shooting. On past shots, make sure you swing through the body and beyond the head. Shooting just as the bead clears the rabbit's nose. And so in other words, you're leading the rabbit. But at all times, know where that shot's going to go. If it's an area that's toward roadways, houses, cars, your hunting partner, don't point that barrel in that direction. Keep the barrel pointed in a safe direction at all times. Another thing, to be alert on hunting rabbits, keep that shotgun in both hands. I like to carry it down at waist level, and keeping two hands on it. I don't tend to sling it over my shoulder. I won't cradle it in my arm. I won't prop it over my shoulder either. So, but I'm going to keep that firearm in a safe position at all times. But it's always in a ready position. I have two hands on it, ready to go. Keep your trigger hand on the grip, and keep your index finger outside that trigger guard. That way that there's no incident of firing accidentally. Also, keep your safety on. As a matter of fact, know your firearm. Before you take it into the field, know your firearm. Make sure that everything is safe about it. If you will, go back to that other slide there. Okay, thank you. Just keep your your finger outside the trigger guard, keep the safety on, and don't rely on a safety. Safety is a mechanical device that sometimes can fail, so don't rely on that totally. Keep the muzzle of your shotgun always in a safe direction. Also, the real magic of rabbit hunting is just simplicity. It's a simple hunt. You don't need to build any blinds or stands or anything like that. It's not necessarily important to be out there at daybreak, but it's good to be out there as close as possible because those bunnies, they'll start moving back to thick cover. So that thick, dense cover, they'll start moving back in there. So you don't have to have those fancy high-dollar equipment. It's not needed. Like I said, you don't even need the dogs unless you have dogs, unless you want to hunt with the dogs. So just find the rabbits and hunt, and that fun is going to be great. Especially if you've got somebody that maybe you're a seasoned rabbit hunter, maybe you're a seasoned hunter. You want to try this. Maybe you've got somebody that has never hunted before and is interested in hunting. This right here would be a great way to teach them some skills on hunting, as well as safe gun handling, that sort of thing. So, okay, next slide. So here's what we're going to do. We've gotten a back limit of rabbits, and the next thing we're going to do is we need to field dress it. We need to do the care for it, and for the cooking, which Nanette's covered. So wearing disposable gloves are good. Also use a sharp knife to skin and dress the rabbit. Remove the head and the feet with skin as well. And there's some really great videos out there online that'll show you specifics on how to do that. We didn't put that in this here, but it'll show you specifically on how to do that. Really great videos. So to prepare the rabbit for cooking, or even freezer storage, cut the four legs from the body as it shows there at the shoulders, and then cut and remove the hind legs at the hip. The last thing to do is separate the rib section from the loin as well. So basically, you're going to be able to cut it up like you see there on the screen, the picture on the screen, and that's you're able to do that for cooking. You're also able to do that and put that in a bag for freezing. So try to get out there these last few days if that's something that interests you, to be able to rabbit hunt, or be ready to get out there if you want to buy some gear. If you need a 20 gauge shotgun, a 14 gauge shotgun, maybe if you're looking at maybe getting into it, maybe like I mentioned, chaps are really good. If you need to buy some gear between now and then, you've got from now to November to even take care of that. So all I can say is happy hunting, and thanks to Nanette for allowing me to participate today. Nanette, I'll let you take care of it.
Thank you, Jeremy, for that. And like I said, if we do not have your address, make sure you put your address in the chat box so Jennifer can get that address, so we can send you the 2 recipe cards we have for rabbits, and they are on index cards. And so the rabbit jambalaya has now been on cooking or simmering for about 20 minutes now, and I'm going to share the screen on what it looks like. As you can see, the lid is all done and steamed up. But this right here is what the jambalaya looks like. And it looks really good. I think I'm gonna have to try me a bite. I've not tried it yet because it wasn't completely cooked. But this, like it said, it does 2 cups is a serving. And this right here has 6 servings in it. So 12 cups of jambalaya. So this is a good hearty meal. You can add a little bit of broccoli as a side dish and a roll or a biscuit, cornbread, and you can have you a good healthy meal. If anybody has any questions, please let me know now. I wish you all were here to smell this. You can see what it looks like. I wish you was here to smell and to taste, because it does smell really, really good. I've not tasted it yet, but I plan to here shortly. But if you have any questions, just let us know. You can put it in the top it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask right now. Okay, if you all have no questions, I appreciate you all attending today. The next one we're going to be doing will be on or duck, sorry. I think it's duck. So we'll get that out there and you can see that on Facebook when the date is, because I don't have it with me on my phone. But hopefully we'll see you again. You all have a nice day.